So let's look now at a second smart contract bug. Again, please take some time to read this particular smart contract. Okay, so this is a contract that's called vulnerable. It has two maps, the one that maps from an address to a boolean and the other one from an address to unit. It's called authorized and balances. There's one function, it's called refund, and you pass it as a parameter an amount. So it will verify the requires, right? This is like a kind of an assert. It requires that the message that sender is within this map of authorized addresses, right? Address, this is true, it's authorized, and then require will pass. There's another require that the amount that is passed here to the function is smaller than the balance of this particular sender. Now, balances here is a map, right? So it's something that's stored here in this particular contract as well. And then we have message.sender.call, and remember when you use the function call, it will call the fallback function that is defined in message.sender, and either this is an implicit one or it's an explicit one in this message.sender. So if message.sender is a contract, you can override this payable function. And after the call, we have here an update that's performed to this map, where the amount is deducted from the balance of message.sender. So what's wrong with this? Well, who can be message.sender? That's a hint. Well, it can be any contract, right? So, and if it can be any contract, then this code is vulnerable to a reentrancy attack, because the balance of message.sender is only updated after the transfer is made, right? So here, this part is done after this part. So what you can do is you can define a fallback function that calls again into refund, so that the balance is actually never updated, and this call here is performed multiple times until you run out of gas. So here we have now another example, right? We have a contract vulnerable and we have a contract exploit. And this contract exploit has two functions. So it has a function register and it has a function exploit. And I'll ask you now to please, can you write the exploit? So pause the video for a second and think of what you would write here. Okay, so as you have read here, vulnerable, this contract is vulnerable as in the previous example, so it suffers from some reentrancy vulnerability. And exploit is basically message.sender, right, in the scope of the vulnerable contract. And what you would need to do is to basically just call here the refund method that was defined in the vulnerable contract. And here you will have to override the payable function, the fallback function, with your custom callback function, and those basically just call v.refund with a particular amount. Okay, so this is a fairly simple exploit. It's just like 4 lines of code that you had to adjust here to exploit a reentrancy vulnerability. Very good.